Okay, recording here with Michelle MacDonald today, who is a Minnesota patriot and one of our really activist lawyers here in Minnesota. She's has run for the Minnesota Supreme Court. She's an incredible attorney and do try to stay on her good side because she keeps receipts and she knows where the bodies are buried. She's an activist in Minnesota who steps up a lot, and you can find her at her website, familyinnocence.com. It's a nonprofit that's centered on mediation and resolving issues outside of court so that families don't waste a lot of money on attorneys. How ironic is that? An attorney who's trying to save you money. So
Right,
out of the
right.
box, you know that she's a conservative who is trying to help you conserve your funds. And uh, Michelle, I want to thank you for doing this today. And we're going to have you as a guest speaker in Rochester in March. And it was great having you attend events here in Rochester and be part of some of the great groups that got together. What's on your mind this holiday season? We've been in lockdown for almost a year now. We were promised 4 weeks. We'll be back to normal by June with, Martians landing in St. Paul. Everything will be back to normal. But here we are.
Right.
Merry Christmas to you, Michelle.
Thank you. Merry Christmas. And first of all, when you say you want to be on our good side, I am on the good side. So you want to be on my side, basically.
Right. That's so true.
Okay.
Thank you
Yeah,
for all you
Chris,
do.
go ahead.
Sorry, I go ahead.
Well, thank you for inviting me on your show. And Wes, ditto to you. I mean, you are a true patriot. You are a crowd gatherer, you excite, you bring excitement. You're on the good side. We all know, and it's really the side of the people and humanity that I see we're both advocates for.
Well, we have to do what we can. I mean, and all of these things are online now, and it seems like we're reaching many more people because we're not allowed to meet in person, and we're not allowed to go to church, and we're not allowed to use the church basement. And but of course, you can go to a casino and have a nice meal, or go to the nightclub, or have a drink at a bar on a casino because this is a woke virus, so it stops at the border. But what's happening with the lockdown and your Christmas traditions? And is there anything particular you're working on these days that you want to tell people about?
Well, it wasn't a Christmas tradition, but it was a wedding anniversary tradition. My husband and I, December 16th is our wedding anniversary. And since we got married umpteen years ago, every 16th of the month, we do something special. So that's what I want to put out there to people, that we do it when our relatives and friends, younger friends, get married, that every 16th of the month, we made it kind of a date night. And anyway, we had to cross the border to go out to eat. So that's what we did for our, we crossed the border. We felt a little guilty. My husband was bringing up when the drinking age changed. He's originally from Minnesota, and he had to cross the border to go get alcohol when he was. And so we did that, and that was a little off. And it was packed. I think the 16th was a Tuesday. Wisconsin was absolutely packed. You would think it was Times Square. Every restaurant had cars in front of it. It wasn't even a special night, like a Thursday or a Friday or a Saturday.
Interesting. And now we're at a point where the smallest of shops are being closed down and being threatened with fines from the Attorney General, Keith Ellison, the name which must not be mentioned. He's an interesting guy. I mean, there's all kinds of little cafes and wine bars being shut down, but Apache Mall is stuffed to the gills. You know, business is booming with Walmart. So Minnesota's very much open. It's just they're picking the winners and the losers. So,
Yeah, it's good. It was one of those things where you know, it's really great. Good news is coming. We get to open up the restaurants. What is it, January 3rd or 4th? And we can all eat outside. Isn't that great? So
yes,
yeah, I'm
bring your
saying that
snowmobile suit
because
and
you did
dress
say
for,
this was supposed to be a funny show, so I can lighten
yeah,
up a little
enjoy
bit.
yourself.
The
Right.
next, the governor's more recent order says that in Minnesota, at the coldest time of the year, the restaurants get to open up. And guess what? We all can eat outside. And my daughter Stephanie was telling me today that some restaurants are going to put ice houses on the outside, some of the ones on the lakes and the rivers,
Yeah.
so that we can all eat outside in the freezing cold. How about that?
Strange days. I don't know, but I'd rather be inside and watch my food being prepared if I'm going to trust someone enough to be handling it and then bringing it out to me for me to carry home. I don't know how that's cleaner. I don't know. I'm thinking of Fight Club, you know, the fabulous movie from the 90s. I don't know if why do we want to have a disconnect between the restaurants and the person who's consuming the food, you're actually putting that in your body, and the person who's preparing it and touching it with their hands. How is that okay? I thought it was a mystery that this is a virus, but somehow it doesn't spread through people who handle our food, when we know that there's been a lot of issues with salads from the grocery store and pre-washed spinach or whatnot, Anyway.
It's pretty arbitrary and random all the way around, like you said, churches and liquor stores and restaurants and hospitals.
It's pretty capricious.
It doesn't make sense.
Arbitrary is a good word to use there, because how is that okay? How can't you sit in a restaurant and be spread out? Let's say you're spread out in a restaurant, but you can sit in an enclosed space with recycled air for 12 hours with just 2 bathrooms, be shoulder to shoulder with people in chairs from 12 time zones away. I'm speaking of airplanes, and that's totally fine. They did a study. So that's totally fine to breathe recycled air in a fuselage of an airplane. Whereas you can't have Thanksgiving dinner in your home with your family. And don't attend fireworks. All the fireworks are canceled. Of course, Easter started the week before Easter. We're coming up on a year's worth of cancellations. And then they tried to cancel Christmas too. And I think people said, okay, it's getting a little too obvious at this point what it's all about. You're changing our culture. To me, it's very Maoist. The Maoist cultural revolution comes to mind, where and on the darker side, you've got Mao really wanted to do away with old people and old ways of thinking. So the elders were abused openly in the streets and assassinated. But now you've got 70% of the COVID-19 deaths occurring in nursing homes. So that is really massive, and that was in New York City, a New York State decision, and also here in Minnesota. And, so I'm doing Christmas caroling this year. I think I talked about that. Yeah. We were talking.
Exciting.
Yes. So caroling, I went up to CC Heights. I was the first person they've allowed up there to do anything since the lockdown. And I sang on 3 sides of CC Heights. And then I did Madonna Towers yesterday. And I kind of overdid it. I did 3 sides of the building, and then I gave up because the icy sleet started in and the temperature dropped. I thought, this is very strange. The temperature just went down, and I made it back to my vehicle singing all the way. But carols are something special for me. Oh, have you ever met Kevin Lund, by the way, Judge Lund? So
yes, I have, as a matter of fact.
He came outside and he was holding a piece of paper, because I've been singing at City Hall since 2 weeks before Thanksgiving. So I'm singing in front of the government building doing Christmas carols for about an hour. And he came outside holding a piece of paper, and I thought, okay, I'm being served for disturbing the peace or something. And I thought, this is it. And he said, hey, I just wanted to give you this. And we talked for a while. And then he said, hey, thanks for doing this. And I thought everything's going to be okay. And he walked back into the building, and like the door closed behind him, and then it opened up again. And here came a Olmsted County Sheriff's Department guy. And he walked out, and I thought, this officer, okay, good cop, bad cop. But he was bringing me water. And he said, thank you for doing this. So I got into the car later. I opened the envelope, and it was a Christmas card. And that was really special to me, because I felt kind of like I was breaking the law, bringing Christmas to City Hall, because it's now sort of a forbidden holiday.
You bring up a good point. Why do we have fear when we see a police car drive by, or a sheriff moving towards us, or a judge? Why do we fear judges even and when we go into the courtroom? And that's not the way it's supposed to be. I spoke about that during my 2020 campaign for Minnesota Supreme Court, that this is not the way it is supposed to be. We are not supposed to be shivering in fear when we go before a judge, and be afraid that he won't believe us, or be afraid that we'll say the wrong thing. This is not the way it was intended. And justice is for all of us, and we're just not receiving it. We're receiving adversary processes. We're pitted against one another, especially in family court, when we all should be on the same page. And this isn't getting funny, is it? When are we going to get to the part?
No, you just got
the humorous part. But it's so I'm always serious. My husband's just funny, and I could say the same joke and nobody laughs, but we say that I'll walk in and I'll say the same thing, and everybody will be like, what'd you say? And he'll go in, walk into a room and say exactly the same thing, and everybody will laugh.
It's in the delivery. It really is in the delivery. And I think for me, the issue was, not only was I bringing religion before City Hall, which to me, I grew up with the concept of a separation of church and state, which is also kind of wrong. At a deeper philosophical level, it's sort of wrong to think that church is separated from the state. But I had that feeling that also because they've also tried so hard to cancel all our cultural manifestations, both secular and religious. I'm doing the Christmas carols since 2 weeks before Thanksgiving as an act of protest. I didn't go into the building and make noise, but I'm in front of the building making noise, and I'm using an amplifier too. So I'm sensitive to the decibels. I think you have a limit on how much noise you can make, and I've been pretty noisy out there with the carols. But when I go to the nursing homes and the long-term healthcare facilities like Arbor Village or Bethany Samaritan, where we used to carol when I was a kid, it was a normal thing. Our choir director would set up tours for us every winter, and we'd have like three places to go to on a Wednesday evening. And he would have a whole schedule worked out between November and Christmas time. And why are we worried about doing these things in public? There's been some businesses that have been told not to put up Christmas decorations. This year, they were warned by a certain community not to decorate, or there would be monetary consequences. It wouldn't bring them their business. A laundromat just near my home. But last year, there were 0 Christmas decorations in Rochester. This year, the downtown area is filled with Christmas colors and symbols of Christmas time. Of course, there's nothing overtly Christian displayed downtown except for a Christmas tree, which is also, the issue of saying happy holidays versus Merry Christmas.
Do you think people are saying Merry Christmas rather than Happy Holidays? And I think you do. That's what we were recognizing this year. that we were not reprimanded or admonished when we said Merry Christmas.
And if I say Merry Christmas to someone and they say Happy Holidays in return, I say, no, Merry Christmas, or Happy Hanukkah to my Jewish friends. But certainly Happy Hanukkah. I wonder about the old Jewish lunar calendar. I want to ask them, doesn't Hanukkah change every year because it's a cyclical lunar calendar? I mean, just as Chinese holidays move and Islamic holidays move, whereas the Gregorian calendar is trying to have a fixed linear time. So, but Merry Christmas seems appropriate because it's really the reason for the holiday. Oh, so
yeah, that is a big part of the reason. You had wanted me to talk about traditions, and basically our Christmas traditions is all about family. I'll just say that I'm from a humongous family. My husband, Tom, is from a gigantic family as well. I'm originally from the Massachusetts East Coast. My dad is one of 11 brothers and sisters. My mom is one of 14. Her parents immigrated from Portugal, and my dad's parents immigrated from Ireland. So my dad's grandparents, I guess it was, that immigrated. His parents, I believe, were not born here. Well, they must have immigrated. Yeah. His father's side. And so then my mother, when she was about 16 years old, married my dad, who was maybe about 20. And they together had 8 children. I'm the oldest of the 8. And right now, there are 27. I have 27 nieces and nephews. So there's just a huge amount of us. My husband, oddly enough, his parents also have 27 grandchildren, but they have something like 30, 40 great grandchildren because they started at, yes, they expand. So basically the holidays when we were smaller and it was just the 8 of us, it was always Christmas Eve, we would have Santa Claus come to our house. So it was always, we know who it is now. He's not around now, but one of my dad's friends would dress up as Santa Claus. And there was one year where I was getting a little older, and I just insisted that, no, that's Uncle Joe. That's not Santa Claus. And my mom basically said, and I said this to my kids later on, because she didn't want me to, she goes, if you don't believe in Santa Claus, then you're not going to get anything. So I was okay. All right. So I believed in Santa Claus till I was what? How old am I now? So that was it. And I'd say that to my kids when they'd question, I'll say, well, if you don't believe, you don't get anything. So I guess we did make it about what you get. But we do that and they're doing it as we speak right now. Christmas Eve, at my dad's house out east, all the grandchildren now. We have my brother's friend, my brother's about my age, has been Santa Claus the last couple of years, and now as many grandchildren as he can get are going to be sitting on Santa's lap, and taking pictures.
That's nice. See, those were the days when people really pair bonded and would spend a lifetime together, and that's the traditional culture of America. And it's great that you're inculcating the young with the values of the old. That's a nice tradition to keep alive. So are you still a believer in Santa Claus then? You believe in the miracles? It's Miracle on 34th Street every year. It's a Wonderful Life. What's your favorite Christmas movie, by the way? Or do you have a favorite Christmas cartoon? Remember the old
You
Rudolph.
just said it. It's a Wonderful Life is one of my
Yeah.
favorites. And my dad had introduced me to that. Isn't that the best?
It's,
Where he actually gets to see his life. He feels like he hasn't done anything. It's not a comedy, by the way. So
no,
I should
but
find one that's a comedy
it
here
goes so
I go.
quickly.
Now I get into, something not very funny, but it's a very serious one. Yeah, right. It's a very serious show.
Yeah, it's a
There's some funny
tearjerker.
ones though that I
You
like.
really a funny Christmas movie? I don't know because Christmas is imbued with the duality of
Mm,
a celebration that a baby's being born and yet an acknowledgement that he's going to be sacrificed on the cross
mhm,
for
mhm,
atonement of
mhm,
mankind. So,
mhm,
and womankind, we got to be politically correct a little bit, but they, you know, all of the minor keys for carols, it's a celebratory thing, but the minor key makes it sad. So
mhm,
that thing is happening in parallel time. And the Frank Capra was a brilliant director. He could really pluck on the heartstrings. So heartstrings. So one scene is joyful and sort of funny, and then the next one there's a tragedy introduced, and then
mhm,
it keeps going like that. So that's kind of maybe that's vaudeville, but they really knew how to put movies together in those days. And Jimmy Stewart, of course, is the star of so many fantastic films, and Frank
mhm,
Capra films often feature Jimmy Stewart. He was a vehicle for Frank Capra's direction, but it's a Wonderful Life along with Mr. Smith Goes to Washington.
mhm,
That's another classic. You should really watch that one if you haven't seen that.
mhm,
Or I think he did His Girl Friday. No, that was a different director, but um, lots of great movies back in the day. Yeah, Christmas
mhm.
time, get out the good movies, have a nice conversation, make some popcorn, watch a
Mhm,
flick.
mhm,
It's a
mhm.
good time for that.
We just before I came on air with you were watching Bad Moms 2. So that's kind of a serious,
Wow,
funny. I don't know if you
I haven't seen
know
that.
about them. And what I don't like about it is there's swearing in it. And,
Uh, yeah.
this is like the fourth or fifth time we watched it. One thing that's different about uh, today is, do you remember? I don't know if we're the same age or not. Don't you remember that you'd go to a movie and you'd never see it again? I
Yeah.
remember seeing the movie Oliver Twist, and then it would come in the theaters again, and my mom would take us all to see Oliver Twist, and sometimes it might be on TV, so we'd but I videos didn't even come about, videos and movies that you could watch over and over and over again until I think in high
Right.
school.
And
And
hit the pause button. Think of what a weird thing that is to be able to stop the movie and go do
mhm,
something else for a
mhm,
while. Because I
mhm,
used to be a real purist. I would have to see a film from the complete beginning to the end of the credits.
mhm,
And those were the days when you would be, as you say, in the theater and then you'd never see it again. And
mhm,
of course there were the late night TV movies that came out, and then cable and VCR and DVD. And now it's just such a thing where you can get a clip of a film. You can watch a clip of Casablanca on YouTube and not deal with the continuity of the narrative. And
mhm,
I'm afraid that that plays out in a lot of ways with our educational system and the 20 somethings and the generation Z and all of these millennials not being able to stick with something from start to finish. And
mhm,
I think that the devices that we use kind of play into that. And
mhm.
I'm sounding like an old man, so but still,
And I won't ask you on air how old you are. I'm
no, don't do that.
assuming you might be my age, but
No, I'll lie about my age
okay,
probably,
you'll lie. Okay.
but but
You're
generally,
young at heart, right? So
I'm
that's the
young at
important
heart,
thing.
and I feel blessed to have been able to meet. I used to go to nursing homes to do little shows and stuff. I used to play my guitar. My folks were
Mhm,
always taking me to do magic tricks or push the wheelchairs around at a polka dance and whatnot. So I met people who were born in the 1800s. And that
Mhm.
taught me to respect my elders. And I think that's another change about today's culture. And with the lockdown, is that the generations are divided now. So age
Mhm.
groups are played against each other. It's easier when you have everybody split up and divided. It's easier to play intergenerational politics, interest group politics. And Walls is rolling that out with his new program for high school students. He's going to give them unemployment. You're living in your folks' house, including your parents' house.
Mhm.
But, to play us, I think that there should be more social security for the as a lot of those folks are just going away now.
Mhm. Mhm.
When I visit at Christmas time, I'm going to keep doing this into the future. So
Mhm. Yeah, I'm making a joke now. That's really funny, Wes.
oh dear. Now,
We're getting the sense of humor
my
into
turn
the
to
show.
start. Yeah.
Well, because I'm thinking, yeah, we'll all be, I'm
Right.
thinking about as you talk about nursing homes, I just think about how the circle of life.
Yeah.
And just recently, I was it almost was a good, we had the good fortune of being able to remote into the office, which I have done. My law office has been open this whole time, but I've remoted in. It's open for business. We've just worked with all the clients, whether they want us to do things right outside while they're in their car, like drive up law, or whether they come in, want to wear a mask, want to do the Zoom. But we had I just, when I think about nursing homes and those kinds of things, I just had the opportunity to um, take care of my dad for about 3 weeks. And good thing he has a lot of kids, because all 8 of us have taken turns. He's since my mom passed away, and he's a physician and has consistently worked. He's in his 80s, still works. He seems to have one thing after another. The he had never been in the hospital ever overnight. And then my mom passed away 2015. So 2017, he started with just one thing after another. This most recent ailment was that he was just he had a pain in his back that was so severe that and we were basically all praying. And this was during a time when he was on cancer treatment. So again, he was in the hospital, and I went out there for 3 weeks. My brother, who's a professor, he's a doctor of philosophy, teaches sociology at a college, actually was there as well. So he and I were on the shift, and my brother would do his Zoom teaching, and I would be doing what I needed to do when he wasn't able, and we were able to take care of my dad. And it was just a blessing. And I had never thought, I mean, people have told me, wow, it's such a blessing to take care of your elderly parents. And I thought it seemed like wow, that just seems like a chore. It was not a chore. It was an absolute blessing. I think when you just almost want to help your parents uh, um, through their difficult time. Do you see what I'm saying? Like
Yes.
it was like when I first got married, and I'd see other people with babies, and I'm like, wow, that's going to be tough when you have kids. They're going to be crying. You're going to be changing diapers. They're going to be your appendage for a while. And then when you have kids, you're like, you belong to this club, and you go, this is great. Wow. And
Yeah.
you're, all excited if they, about every little thing that they do. Same with the attitude about when it's your parents and you're taking care of them in their elderly age and that circle of life. And you might watch somebody just taking care of their elderly parent, and then you go, wow, that's going to be tough. But when it occurs, it's just a blessing. You just can't, I didn't even want to leave when I was there.
That's fantastic. It's really true. Once you have those life-changing experiences, it becomes special. You realize how precious it is.
Mhm.
Say, is there anything, any project you're working on right now that
Mhm.
you want to share with people? Anything related to
Mhm.
politics or anything at all? Or maybe you can't discuss the current cases that you're working on. That would probably be a bad idea in terms of
Mhm.
whatever
Mhm.
litigation's going
Mhm.
on and whatever briefings you've filed. But there's a
Mhm.
lot of talking in the background. Is that a
Oh,
television or
yeah, sorry. Let me just,
a lot of
yeah, that's my husband's on the phone. Let me just,
really, yeah.
okay, I muted myself.
That's good. That's good.
He's
Probably better
talking in
we
the other.
didn't hear that. That's a funny part of the
That's
video.
the funny part. I muted myself. Hey, honey, could you be quiet? Read my lips. Yeah.
Yeah, be
I know. Are
respectful.
we gonna have a funny part? It's gonna come. We know it's gonna come. Do you
Yes.
know that in college I was in a comedy group?
I've
And it still exists. I started the comedy group. This was at Boston College, and it still exists. So I am funny.
you
It
attended,
doesn't seem like it, but
you attended BU?
Boston College.
Okay, good. Okay.
Not a college and not in Boston, they used to call it.
Okay.
That it was
Not to be confused with BU. Good.
yeah. BU is, yeah. And I've had my nieces and nephews
Yeah.
went to both
Okay.
of them. So both of those. But
Yeah.
yeah, so I used to be funny. I don't know what happened to me. I actually, well, yeah,
It
so
was a
we had
workshop.
and it's in fact, COVID affected our comedy group. It's called My Mother's Flea Bag. And you know oh my gosh, there's so many people that went on to be famous that were in our comedy group.
Gilda Radner,
Not Gilda Radner.
Carol Burnett.
She was older than us, but not that much.
Yeah.
But we were going to have a reunion. It was going to be something like our 30th reunion. I won't even say 30th, no, 40th. Oh my gosh, I am getting up there. And it got canceled due to COVID. We were going to have it this spring. And so I was going to be able to go back there. I actually sent them a manuscript of a funny script that I wrote called called Court Jester. So it's a script that I wrote that I hope to produce at some point.
Mm-hmm.
That's funny, actually.
So are you mainly a writer?
It's funny.
Yeah. Do you workshop comedy, or do you go through a writing process to write comedy? Is it mostly writing
We did
activity, or
it. This was again 40 years ago. We started the group, and I learned improv.
Yeah.
Yeah, we just and the amazing part is the group is still there. And oh my gosh, his wife, the guy that's on Office, okay, you know, the main guy on Office, Cottrell or something.
Yeah.
His wife was in our group, My Mother's Flea Bag. There's a really famous comedian. She has blonde hair. She's all over the place. I'm sorry, I don't remember their names.
It's okay.
I know that's not funny, but I'm just saying, yeah, they're so famous that I don't know their names, but everybody else does.
So, do you
I got a chuckle.
want to hear a new joke that's coming? It's enough time has passed now that we can joke about COVID, you know, because comedy sourced from pain and tragedy. But so a Jewish rabbi, a Catholic priest, and an Islamic imam walk into a bar, and the police arrest the bar owner.
Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah,
that's
not even a joke.
That's not even a joke.
Not even a joke.
I just heard that the other day. You don't think that's funny?
That could happen. That could happen. Real life
Okay.
is funnier than fiction.
It is because we
Well,
laugh and create comedy, tell the stories to get over the pain and the tragedy.
I've been waiting for a joke about how let's blame COVID for all our troubles. Like I can't make it due to COVID.
Yeah.
I can't attend Christmas, with my in-laws due to COVID. Really wanted to be there. Really wanted to be there.
Or there's that coworker you don't want to be next to under normal conditions. Now you have the perfect excuse to socially distance. Can you back up a little bit here? I don't feel comfortable standing quite 6 feet from you. Could you back up a little further?
Yeah, everything could be blamed on. There was another one. My sister, who's an attorney as well, was getting a call, and she's sitting there, and my dad's sitting there, and she's saying, this lady calls me. Does a lot of injury, and she said that something happened 3 or 4 years ago. Her something happened where there was a flooding or something in her house, and she said, and everything's been done, and she the guy said, well, I thought maybe because of COVID I could bring this case. It's like the case had nothing to do with COVID. My sister was like, okay, she calls me about this event that happened like 3-4 years ago and says, well, I thought maybe because of COVID. So yeah, there's going to be more of that. Maybe we could just, the 10 best COVID excuses, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6. We'll get that for your next show.
Sure.
Maybe it'll be funny.
Sorry, I can't come over right now. I'm all out of masks.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or your mask is so small that how small is it? Remember the old my apartment is so small jokes.
Yeah. How small is it?
Yeah.
My husband our TVs are no good anymore. We finally decided to these giant TVs. I mean, we had a giant TV that was yay wide and yay tall. And we had our smart TV on top of it, that wasn't as big. So my husband decided to while I was at the office one day, because he knows I'm just like, they're gonna come back. I own these really expensive old, giant TVs, and so they're heavy as can be.
Right.
So he calls me up. He says, is it okay if I get all those TVs out of the house? Because he heard somewhere where we actually have to pay somebody to take the TVs. That's how bad it is. Like we can't just give away. We have to pay somebody.
Yeah. I was into receiving an old TV from a friend. He said, hey, I've got an old TV. Do you want it? It's going to cost me $50 to take it to the dump.
Right.
So
right.
It's a white elephant.
Since when do we have to pay somebody to take so he found somebody $10 a TV. His brother found this person, which it's usually, like you say, $50 to take the TV. So he had I can send you the picture and maybe you could edit it in, but he had his mask on with all these TVs in his truck. And he said in any other case, they'd be saying, he just stole all these TVs, but he could wear a mask and take the TVs.
Well, they do have to ship those all the way over to the Philippines, and that costs a little money. So
yeah, he said there's parts in there that they can use that are actually expensive.
Yeah,
or they can actually use. But yeah, I am one to our yesterday, your event, remember, I told you that we actually had to postpone my funny TV, humorous TV interview that we're partaking in right now. and because our electricity went out.
Right.
Our electricity and and that means I couldn't use my computer that I'm on right now because we didn't have internet, and the lights were out and it was dark. And so I didn't realize that even our water, my husband said, don't use a lot of water because it uses electricity. I'm like, what? Mm-hmm. You start to our phone, we have a landline phone and I couldn't put it on speaker.
Yeah.
because of the electricity. What else was there? Anyway, I had one of these. I'll show it to you. Let me get it. I had gotten like 5 or 6 these for gifts for people. They're
Oh,
Patriots power
yeah,
cells.
I've
We
heard.
actually used.
Yeah,
Have
those
you
are,
heard of those?
yes, yes.
They were really inexpensive too. Don't tell the people I bought them for. Uh, I got a bunch of them, and maybe I got 4 or 5 of them. They were $75 for the whole pat, and they actually do. I powered it up by the. So my husband's like, how does those power up? Because his phone was going dead.
Mm-hmm.
And so anyway, where was I going with this? What was going to be funny about this? I'm not really
Well,
sure.
the electricity went out and you got the power packs, but I suppose you couldn't charge them unless they're solar powered. Are
They
those
were solar powered. That's
okay?
what I mean.
So,
Like
yeah.
I could have possibly, but without the internet. So I thought it was,
Could
I'm
have done
hearing
it
that
on a
we're supposed to get a
smartphone.
lot of darkness. So I
Yeah.
thought, okay, this might be it. So I was kind of making note of what was going on. Like I have a can opener that's electric, and I thought, okay, good. I'll keep my, hand can opener because I was going to eat canned goods. So anyway,
That's
where was I
great.
going with this? I don't think this was very funny, Wes.
I don't
Sorry.
know. No, that's okay. No. But
It's okay.
what's next for the lockdown and the shutdown? Of course, we don't get much news about other parts of the state beside the media bubbles that we all exist in, and we don't have much news. Other states are open. We're not. Uh, People are being threatened with losing their leases and their rental agreements with municipalities, or people are afraid of they do business with the state. We were talking earlier about family. It's interesting that during the lockdown and the shutdown of restaurants now, it means that food is being distributed through governmental agencies, school agencies. Tim Walz is talking a lot about what a great guy he is because he's feeding all these families. I just see grooming and socialist, Maoist, communist behavior behind all of this. I don't see why having a income generating restaurant that's privately owned and operated, generating tax revenue, generating value, adding value to the community. Why is private business the people who are going to suffer? How is it better to have bureaucrats in public schools making lunches, putting them in bags, and then having these bags transported by school buses for meal delivery services? Why is it better, and why is it cleaner? Why is it cleaner to have people working in these like assembly line factory situations, making bologna sandwiches, and then getting those school bus drivers taking those all over the place and handing them out? You remember the COVID-19 crew that was driving around Minnesota with California plates, and they had dirt under their fingernails, and the back of the vehicle was filled with samples just rolling all over the place. And the people in the small town said, "Who the heck are you guys? We're not going to let you stick that thing up our nose. This is ridiculous." And where are we headed with all this?
Well, I think we used to call it the slippery slope, but we've fallen right in. There is no slippery slope anymore. We are in it. It's all about power and control, and also just making us completely dependent on government. And so businesses have been slowly dependent on government already. And so that's where we're going with this. But I do want to say, so that we don't go into there's prosperity coming, and I can't explain verbally, but it's coming. And
Mm.
so we just got to keep our eyes open. Wes, you've had your eyes open in the school community. I've had my eyes open in the legal community. There are other, keep your eyes open, because you will start to see how, and this isn't going to be funny, how fake everything is. Everything is fake. Our food is fake.
Yeah.
I happen to know what real food is because my husband's family were farmers,
Mhm.
and so they still had. We don't have a garden, but my his parents still have gardens. So I've seen what a real carrot looks like, and it's not pretty, actually. Yeah, have you ever seen a real
Yes.
carrot? They
Yes,
look
I've grown.
deformed, actually. In
I've,
fact,
uh,
because
yeah.
East Coast, move here 30 something years ago, meet my, the love of my life, who is, he's an incredible businessman that never went to college, and his family had a garden and farms and everything. And so when I'd see this real food, she actually now years later selects the most deformed carrots to give me. Sometimes because she wants to teach me. And recently she said to me, though, I said, this is great. She goes, but I'm not sure my seeds are not GMO, genetically modified seeds. So
Yeah.
she's a little bit worried about that, because she gets seeds to grow. But so, it is a good fortune. And our food is fake. We know fake news.
Yeah.
We all, what I
We have
heard
fake
recently is
friends on
we
Facebook.
have like 6. I actually majored in college when I had the comedy group, My Mother's Fleabag. I was actually going to college too at the time, and majored in communications and media. And we were talking about how they'd call it subliminal seduction, and how bad that was, and false advertising and all of
Mhm.
that. And now it's
Mhm.
just everywhere. You can't watch a commercial without seeing something that's
Yeah.
not real.
When I was reading Herbert Mercule, the one-dimensional man, they were discussing a lot about the fact that people are interested in appearances rather than reality, and
Mhm.
the way something's presented instead of the truth.
Mhm.
And we
Mhm.
we really we really went out on appearances to the extreme. And then
Mhm.
it's odd to me now that um contrast that with these conversations that you find with thinkers like Stefan Molyneux, or Millennial Woes. These are just people who talk with a very uninteresting background. It might just be a blue screen or a green screen, and they're just talking to the camera, and they have far more people watching those shows than watching CNN and
Mhm.
Fox News. They have more
Mhm.
subscribers than major networks,
Mhm.
and people are turning their backs on Hollywood too. I never thought I'd see the collapse of Hollywood and the NFL and the NBA. All of
Mhm.
that's gone in one year, and it's so
Mhm.
wonderful that we're
Mhm.
not giving our money to these
Mhm.
weirdos. It's so wonderful that all
I
that's
agree.
suddenly gone, and because all of the best movies were already made.
Mhm.
All of the best movies are, of course, black and white era, and we're going to have time someday to go back through the catalogs and watch all the old stuff instead of watching Hollywood try to
Mhm.
remake and destroy an
Mhm.
old, really
Mhm.
good movie,
Mhm.
take it and twist it, make it politically correct, include the essential elements of race and gender identity politics, to have like a woke Superwoman or a woke Star Wars. I mean, they have killed franchise after franchise, or they have to remake a movie because
Mhm.
they don't have any imagination power to create a new concept. So they have to reach way back to watch an old film and then try to make it up to date. And they have to include the gratuitous sex scene, include the exploding cars and a car chase, and include the negative character. That everything is very trope with them. It's all tropes, and these tropes and keep them in circulation. And suddenly all that's gone. It's really a relief that we don't have any celebrities considered to be experts anymore. Nobody cares what they think. And they'd rather watch little channels that are having conversations, because that's what nobody gets anymore. So what were we going to say there? Sorry.
Oh, no, I wholeheartedly agree with you. When we started to still have football games with cardboard people in the stands, I was just like, that it was fake all along, actually. Now we just don't have the people there. It'd be really funny if they started distancing the cardboard figures. They had all the cardboard figures.
So those cardboard figures should have masks on too. They really should be the salute to oppression. Yeah, submission needs to.
And then the fake cheering. I mean, and then you still had the announcers talking, and I was just like, it's kind of showing its true colors, that it is very fake, and people get a lot of money to play those sports. I think more recently I heard might have been before COVID that one player hit the $1 billion mark, something like that, as a player. And what came to mind is, and you hear people saying, oh, that's a lot of money for those players, and those poor franchises that have to pay so much money to the players. And I thought to myself, and I know that I believe this is what I mean by prosperity is, we will be able to not have to pay to go to games. I don't know why they really need our money if they can just, it's a drop in the bucket for these franchises to pay their players the big money that they get. And
it's
now
they have to attack youth sports too and cancel all of the little league matches and teams and games. Why couldn't you have sports of a nature where it was individual sports, say like track and field, where people are out there running around by themselves, essentially, in the open, fresh air? And when it comes to concern about COVID-19 and masks, I think I've determined to all the more to do something about my own obesity. But I would think that I'm just a little bit big, but they should be worried about diabetes as an underlying condition, and obesity and all the other underlying conditions. And why aren't they stressing good food and good nutrition in this? Use this as an opportunity to teach people about a lot of health related issues and how to do lifetime sports and take care of yourself. But slapping a mask on yourself and getting yourself injected in the arm is a salute. It's just an easy fix, and I don't really want to have that injection in my arm either. But
that's another thing that's pretty random, is the sports, because I have lots of nieces and nephews, and they range in age and college all the way down to almost a newborn. I think she just turned a year, and in different schools and those kinds of things. And it's all random whether they're going to play their sport, not play their sport, wear a mask, not wear a mask, cancel the sport, keep it on half the time. So this is what I mean by we're already in the control. We're already, there is no slippery slope. The frog has boiled, that boiling, boiling water, and then, watch, hop out while it's hot, and then you start to feel a little soothing. So the frog stays in the water. We used to boil lobsters that way. Mean, huh?
No.
In Cape Cod.
That's allowable.
Yeah. And so yes, it is, it's random. So we start to, I had heard, remember I said I crossed the border for a restaurant. I had heard that they were not accepting, you had to show your license at restaurants and prove that you were not from another state. This is what I had heard. Either one of my daughters or something told me that, and
That's,
that they
yeah.
weren't accepting Minnesotans at the Wisconsin restaurants. And I thought, well, that's interesting that they'd be so nice to force maybe Minnesota to open up, but that wasn't the case. We got a reservation at this particular restaurant, and we sat at the bar at first, and they did not distance at all. They said we have to wear the mask if we're standing up or if we're walking. Other than that, we did not have to wear a mask. And we plopped ourselves down at a crowded bar. Just, what's the point of the mask then? If you,
I wear my Guy Folk mask when I go out. It's like the mask that Anonymous uses for their videos, but I have the Guy Folk mask. I have some Trump masks. I have real masks, but not real masks, but the ones that they say are supposed to help prevent transmission of diseases. Although it says right on the box that that's not the intended purpose of the mask, and you're not supposed to use it to prevent infectious or contagious diseases. It's not a medical use mask. If people would just read the box, we'd see it's a big joke. But I went to a Rochester restaurant and I wore my full Saudi Naqib, which is a women's garment, but I wore that over my head, and it was hysterical. So we could take it off when we're at the table, but to go to the bathroom or to walk around, I had to put it back on again. And people were just in stitches because, of course, it's a mock-up. It takes tragedy and turns it into comedy. But there's a double play of meaning there too, about submission and wearing a mask. And so, but people were laughing because they get it. I think that's why totalitarians really hate humor. And we need a little more George Carlin these days. This is why comedians can't tour college campuses. They don't want to do any shows. The kids are not funny. The young people don't have a sense of humor. And humor is something that dictators can't control. So this is probably why leftists don't understand how to make them. They don't make good memes. They're not funny. And the memes that come from the right, even Pepe the Frog, these are so disturbing to them, so triggering, because the memes are instructing in a teachable moment something that's true, and it actually plays on the leftist. It breaks down the cognitive dissonance of thinking that masks are going to keep you healthy, or whatever the topic is.
It all does boil down to taking care of yourself. And the person next to you, closest to you. I think it's the Spartans that held up shields to protect themselves, but then they'd have it just a little bit to the right to protect the person next to them. So of course, then the next person would have it to the right, and everybody would protect each other. And it seems like we're just, we have to trust our instincts a little better and not believe everything that we hear, and try to be ourselves, but also just really more spiritual. I heard somebody say, we're not body, mind, and spirit. We're spirit, mind, and body, or spirit, body, and mind. So try to use our brain that kind of helps us to really be that some of us have lost the spiritual side. And think about it's just protecting ourselves, not arguing if somebody decides not to, I call it the I don't know, it keeps us arguing, man versus woman, white versus black, Democrat versus Republican, mother versus father, father versus children, like you say, children versus young, grandparents, young versus old, educated versus non-educated, whatever that means. And it's just really just to take away from how they're behaving in our government, and also to we're all human beings. Humanity is the key. You asked me what project I've been working on, so I will tell you. Can I move on to my project?
Sure.
I want to answer that question. Then we probably should close, but we got to say something funny before we close on this, right?
Sure.
We got to think of something. That joke was a good one though, but, and you know what, maybe for next time we'll have the 10 best COVID excuses that are used by COVID. I liked some of those. But let me tell you that last year I developed through Family Innocence and taught a 46-hour restorative circle mediation training. And we got it certified by the Alternative Dispute Resolution Supreme Court. And we graduated 24 students last year on January 1st of 2020. This year, I was asked, and I'll just call it George Floyd territory, a giant, wonderful church that's been in existence since in the 1940s, Shiloh Temple International Ministries. The pastor there is Bishop Richard Howells, like Gilligan's Island, the Howells.
Mm-hmm.
Except him and his wife are pastors. And I spoke at his church during the campaign, and I again decided or was asked to do a class. And we despite COVID, we had the class in person. We did the 46 hours. It was just every Saturday, 9 to 5. And on January 3rd, we're graduating 7 students. This year it's an intense course. So what we did was allow anyone who wants to participate, whether they come to 1 class or 5 classes. And that's what happened, but we ended up graduating. So we'll have 7 new restorative circle mediators right there in I'll call it George Floyd country, in that area. And it's kind of exciting. It is exciting. It's not funny, but it's exciting. And and just so you know, during the 2020 campaign for Minnesota Supreme Court Justice, I advocated for unitive justice, and that's exactly what restorative circles do. We just had a situation in Ramsey County where through restorative circles, prosecution was suspended for the man that tore down the statue, the Columbus statue. Did you hear about that?
Yeah.
And that's restorative. And if that can happen in that situation, and I understand the circles were between and among the people that were affected, which would be the person that brought it down. I can show you the agreement. But it was an agreement to suspend prosecution, and they actually decided amongst themselves what the best, quote, punishment or the best solution or resolution to make everybody content. And that's what they did. And that's a perfect example of restorative circles, restorative justice that we do.
Well, in that case, he had, I think, a 1-year sentence of community service.
Mm-hmm.
But how many? I think I heard it's going to take $9 million to put the statue back up. It's not possible. It couldn't possibly be that expensive. But the statue is going to be put back up, right?
The damage to the statute was $156,000. I think that's what it said. So I don't know where the millions came from. Probably some government is just trying to get some money to throw at the statute. And then some, there'll be a lot of money
But the statue's
wasted
going
again.
back up again, right? It is.
I don't know. I'll have to send you or read more carefully.
How about the statue
the-
of George
the-
Washington that was ripped down in Minneapolis?
I haven't heard anything about that. So I do, people know me as family law or appellate attorney, but I do all kinds of law, criminal defense as well. And so my thoughts are that if any nonviolent crime could be resolved in a restorative circle, and we would not have to go through years of prosecutions and persecutions for somebody who might want forgiveness and might have made just a bad mistake. So my point is that's the restorative services. It was just kind of exciting for me because these services are found in random, sporadic places and not staple in our courts, in our communities. And so my goal is to make them staple items when families decide they think they should break up, to not rely on attorneys and courts, but to actually have another place for resolution. I said during the campaign that you can that family law doesn't even apply to you while you're just raising your children, married or not married to the father or the mother, paying your mortgage, having a job. Family law doesn't apply to you until you decide to break up. Then there's a phone book of laws that all of a sudden apply to you, and it is another form of slavery, really. That's why I think it should be abolished altogether. And I could go into that maybe on the next show. My spiel on we didn't have courts and lawyers involved in families in the past. This is just something our culture became used to. And the lawyers, it's the most lucrative of all lawyer fees and things like that, but that isn't even the half of it. The money that's involved. I want to tell, when I heard this, I wanted to tell everybody that the Minnesota Department of Human Services that collects child support. And remember, I've been an attorney for 33 years. And when I first started practicing, there was no taking child support out of your paycheck. They didn't do that just automatically. It was only if you stopped paying that and you could pay, right? You stopped paying and you could pay, but you just were in contempt, like, I'm not paying that they would pursue you in that manner. But the Minnesota Department of Human Services, their annual budget I might have already told you this. So do you know what their annual budget is? Minnesota Department of Human Services? What we as taxpayers pay them every year?
I only know about the welfare, the fraud angle on the child care daycare program. With the daycares. Is
that the Minnesota Department of Minnesota Department of Human Services?
Health and Human Services. Yeah.
Their annual budget is $17.5 billion for 1 year. And what they do is they have all, it's all set up for them to do child protection, which they do very badly. What I mean by that is they protect children that don't need protection. Okay, that's what I mean by badly. I don't mean that they and they also go, you can see some examples of the other extreme, but most of the time they're protecting children that don't need protection. That's what they're doing most of the time. They're harassing
politics is the art of the possible. It seems that they're only they have dual standards of justice for different groups.
Mm.
And there's some, I think they sometimes know they can't enforce child protection in some communities. And so, yeah, they're going after the communities that least need it. The children that don't need to be protected are protected, whereas in other communities, I think there's some neglect going on.
Well, it's been, yeah, that's another topic we could talk about. You know, don't get me started on
No,
that.
no, you want to
But yeah, so they do child
Yeah.
protection, they do foster care, they do child support collection, they do adult protection. That's not done very well either. And some other things. Anyway, that's their annual budget. So you just think about that. If we shut it down for 1 year, what we all could do with $17.5 billion. How many families that their children are taken away because of poverty or not having food in their refrigerator could be helped? I mean, what they did, and this is a real case, is they would not let a parent that I had, one of the parents was a very bad alcoholic and had left the children home alone. They were about 5 or 3. And so my client had just gone to pick up his kids, saw that they were left alone. Instead of just picking up his kids and bringing, you know, because he was paying child support, he was seeing his kids, he called child protection. Bad move, because I said to him, I said, well, as we went on, I said, your child protection, you know, if the mom, right, your child protection, you called somebody else.
But men don't
that picture,
really.
but that's what we do.
Yeah.
And we could go on and on about this with grandparents calling child protection on their own family members instead of going in and saying, hey, daughter, you know, you can't do this. Let me take the child for a while. There have been people that have lost 1 out of 3 of their children because they have left one of them with a relative, needed a little bit of reprieve, left the child with the relative, and instead of that relative taking care of the child, you know, waiting for the mom, you know, it isn't abandonment until I think 4 months legally. They would child protection comes in and takes the child, and to the dismay even of the relative. So it's very, very backwards. We could have a whole show about that because I've been so involved in it over the years.
Well, let's do that. I mean, as for now, and we should really do that because I know people with stories that I might be able to tell you some stories too, and it won't be funny.
I know.
It won't be funny.
I don't know. Are we ever gonna call this the Michelle and Wes comedy show? Is it ever gonna be that?
No, it's never. No, we're.
I don't know.
The sad facts, the compendium of history and economics is the dismal. It's the dismal science. It's a sad fact today that when we laugh, I think it's still with a little bit of pain, and those times ahead. Once we get through this next month, I think we're going to see a lot of nice things happen January 6th in Washington, D.C. and all across the states. And I think we're going to have the darkness lift off our country just a little bit. I'm optimistic everything's going to be all right. And we're going to move forward. And is there anything you want to say there in closing or as a setup for the next show?
I wish my husband would, he didn't send me the baby laughing, but I think we got to end with that.
Okay.
Set up for the next show. Well, I think I mentioned I am running for a Minnesota Supreme Court Justice in 2022. Yeah, if things continue the way they have been. So I won't, you know, I'm not real sure about our elections at this point.
Yeah.
But if they remain the same, I am running.
If President Trump doesn't, if this doesn't go as I think it's going to go, I probably won't be voting anymore. I simply won't bother.
Mm.
And I'll be leaving all the activities and just doing
Yeah.
my own thing. And
Well, it'll all, we won't, well, that isn't funny either, but we won't, I'm just gonna try to show you this. I know, isn't it? You
but
start to think that way, like, do I just go off the grid?
before you show a video, let me say that there's different
Say mom, 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 mom. Dada. Say mom, mom, mom. Dada.
Dada. He said that.
Okay, wait a minute. You didn't hear the first part. I'll do it.
Say mom, 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 mom. Dada. Say mom, mom, mom. Dada.
So that was our daughter, that was another relative, but our daughter, that's how my husband said I'd be mama, mama, mom, and she'd go, dada, say mama, 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 dada. Yeah, they love their
It's
dads.
call and response. Yeah.
But there's another one of a baby giggling, and oh, you just sent it to me? My husband's saying he just sent it to me. So we can end with the laughter here. Just sent it to me. Nice. See, he always listens. My husband takes such good care of me. All right, here we go. So let's see.
Well,
okay, at least somebody thinks our show's funny. Okay, Wes, we'll end on that note.
Okay.
Thank you so much for having me on.
Thanks, Michelle. Thanks again. And then her website for her nonprofit organization is familyinnocence.com. And we'll be seeing you here in Rochester after the lockdown. We're looking forward to it. Okay, you have a lot of fans down here. And thanks for running in the last election. Everybody appreciated that you threw your hat in. And
thank you. Yes, and it's people like you too. Just keep on doing what you're doing. It was a great campaign, and I think I got 1,017,000 votes. But it was just very, very close once again. So it's exciting, and it's people like you. Just keep doing what you're doing, because you're making a difference. You might not feel like you are. You might feel like you want to go off the grid, but you and the audience, you are making a difference. It's the cream of the crop. We're all rising up. So just keep standing, keep up, keep being patient, and we will persevere, and there will be peace.
Yeah, there will. Thank you, and Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.